Welcome everybody, welcome to Kendo Tips. My name is Jose, I am a Golden in Kendo, and today we're going to watch and talk about Kendo. My plan for today is talk a little bit about explosivity and maybe some other things, especially requirements for Shodan and things like this, because I've been getting a couple of questions, so maybe I'll have time to answer some of those things. I'll be sharing some videos that Okay, the video I'm sharing today is from Let's Kendo, and it was shared to me. I saw it a while back too. I mean, it's a recent tournament, but Jan, I don't know if Jan is here because normally he's here a couple times. He sent me this video to kind of pay attention to the footwork that's there. One of the players fighting is Hoshiko, which I really like the way he does his footwork and some of the things that he does. So we'll get to explore that a little bit. Hope you guys enjoy it. Hope you guys have fun. In the meantime, let me know how has been your Kendo week. How has 2023 started for you? Have you had some good practices? How do you feel about what's coming up this year for Kendo? Any new events? Let me know. That will be a good what's it called? That'll be a good start. Yeah, so you're here. Cool, awesome. Thank you. And thank you for sharing this video. It's, again, Hoshiko has been somebody that I've been watching lately. I really like the way that he performs his kendo in the sense of the footwork and the way that he moves, especially changing directions. I think he's really good with that. So I think his kendo is going to develop in something very interesting. But I'm kind of disappointed that he lost so quick on the last All Japan, because he lost against a Jordan player, and he lost, I think, on the classic way that we get scored on against Jordan. Anyway, guys, this week I had a visitor at the dojo, so I had two good practices with a friend of mine that he just recently passed Rokudan, and I wanted to see if I can do a stream with him because he felt it once or twice, I don't remember. I think it was once. So I kind of was picking his brain a little bit about what was different that helped him pass the second time. And interesting enough, it had to do a lot more with attitude in the test rather than any specific skill. Of course, there were some improvements that he did from his previous test as well. But so I kind of wanted him to share his experience. I think it will be very motivating when it comes to us testing and taking a good path to progress. So I'll try to convince him to do that soon. That'll be cool. Jan, by the way, the channel that you sent me to contact to see if we can do something together, I contact them. Yes, you have your mod power on, Jan. Thank you very much. So I contact them and they replied to me back. The main guy, the face of the channel, he doesn't speak English, so there's gonna be a challenge to do something. So if you have any ideas of some of the stuff that we could do together, that'll be cool. One, he has like a content manager, so he's the one that actually talked to me. And one thing that I was thinking is about comparing the training in Japan versus outside of Japan, right? So I think that's a video that we could both do together. Another thing that maybe he will be able to share with us, it's some of the things that we may need to do to kind of prepare to go to train in Japan. I think those will be two interesting points to discuss. I just don't know how we're going to be able to do that, without him speaking English. So that'll be interesting. Okay, so I don't want to take too much of your time, guys. I want to get right into what we're doing today. So Jan, this is the video that you shared with me, but we're gonna watch that a little bit later. I wanted to share a little bit following the trend of my previous streams, kind of like building up on the basics. So we start the year with some good foundations and we develop on them. So I'm gonna share couple of the techniques done in the Takenouchi video for basics and kind of point out some of the things that we need to do in order to do proper basics. So take away the confusion and talk a little bit about the common mistakes that we see. So let me have the VLC right here. You guys can see my mouse. Yes. So I wanted to start on the small man And the reason for that is because this big step that he takes at the beginning. I hate how. Sorry. Okay. So, again, I want to talk about explosivity today. I want to talk about how to approach with strength. I guess it will be a good way to say it. But one of the main mistakes I see people do is the first step when they approach the opponent, they kind of drop their weight and they don't support themselves with the back leg. So what ends up happening is that you're kind of tumbling into the opponent rather than pushing into the opponent with the left leg. And I think it's a good example that Takenouchi does here, where he steps forward with good support on the back leg. So if you notice, you have he has the back leg engaged. And okay, let me backtrack for a second. One thing that you want to avoid is to letting go of the pressure with the back leg or the push with the back leg. So this is, I think, a good example where he's pushing constantly and then quickly shifting the foot forward to push again and execute the technique. So if you guys watch this real quick, let me just put it in regular speed. Okay, now let's break it down just a little bit further. So as he steps forward, you can see that the back leg is engaged, right? The main mistake that people tend to make is that they break the leg, they bend the back leg, so it drops their weight, it puts all the weight in the front leg, but then when they push, they end up pushing up rather than forward. So here he's creating the momentum with the back leg, pushing slightly at the, not pushing slightly, but pushing sharply to bring the back leg forward, and then immediately re-engaging it, you see, to start pushing again to execute the technique. All of this has been done with relaxed hands. So after this point is when he starts engaging the hands. So I guess the main point of this is to remind you to always have power coming from your back leg. Don't make only your front leg work. They work together, not one after the other. They kind of just, they have to feed out of each other. Hope that makes sense. Jake, happy Saturday. Thank you for passing by. Yeah, you managed to make it on all of the streams. If you have any questions, let me know. And how has been your Kendo week? Okay. So I hope that makes sense. This is very important, especially when we're talking about testing, because you don't want to look jumpy, right? Especially for your test, you want to have power coming from your feet. Okay. At some point, I kind of want to break down, I kind of want to make a video about breaking down small men and every technique, as a matter of fact. I just need to have a good motodachi. But definitely good to watch in slow motion how he does it. And if you can see here, that, let me show you. That engagement of the back leg, let me see if I can move the, yeah, because this is kind of like low, so maybe this will be better view. Look what happens with the back foot. He re-engages immediately to keep pushing forward. Oh, Jake, you said you strained your left tendon, man. Oh, did you have to? Yeah, you have to be careful with that. A lot of stretching, a lot of warming up. Yeah, and if you could, I would say go check it out with a doctor, because, you know, I know we tend to avoid these things, but definitely something you want to keep an eye on. Beatriz, buenas tardes. Me alegra de Venezuela. Tengo otro canal, déjame mandar. Tengo otro canal en español que no he puesto videos, pero ok. Kendo Tips en español. Ok, aquí acabo de mandar un mensaje del otro canal. Voy a empezar a hacer videos en español y para hacer también los en vivo en español, pero me está tomando un poquito de tiempo porque tengo que hacer bastantes cosas a la vez. Pero si tienes alguna pregunta aquí, avísame y yo voy y traduzco de uno al otro, ¿ok? So guys, I have somebody in Spanish, so I'll try to keep try to keep the flow going. It gets a little bit confusing for me. Victor, yes, I do speak Spanish. I have another channel in Spanish. I don't have enough subscribers to do live streams there. But my goal is that little by little I'll build it up and start doing that over there so I can do both sides. Joan, salud. Ok, ahora están saliendo toda la gente que habla español. Excelente, muchas gracias por pasar. Joan, un saludo. Tenemos tiempo sin hablar. Como les dije, tengo el otro canal que lo voy a empezar a habilitar. Voy a empezar a hacer más cosas ahí. Y así podemos hacer las partes solamente en vivo. Ok. Ok. I have to say, I do kote slightly different than they're doing here for my Kihon practice. But the concept is the same. I'll show. Okay, so actually no, I was thinking of another video that I watched. Okay, Jan, actually very good question. I was thinking of another video that I was watching that I was thinking of doing for today, but now it threw me off because I saw this one. I was like, oh no, I was thinking about the one from Takanabe, and I'll explain what I mean because it's something that I talked about during my training this week, and I'll try to showing it with my Shinai here. Let me go see here. Ok, lo que estoy diciendo es que yo generalmente hago el kote de una forma muy específica, que es diferente a la que vi en otro video hoy y pensé que era este, pero me equivoqué. Entonces voy a tratar de explicar la diferencia. So, one thing that I'm noticing, Jan, with I had a visitor, as I said, and the way that the kote that he was doing, actually maybe I should go back to this thing, is that he aims the kote down. Okay, hold on. It's hard to explain without a live example. So here, if you see in the video, sorry, let me just get the video player here. If you see in the video, you can argue, right, that like he's throwing the kote up because the kote is very high, right? My thing is that when I throw the kote, I try to bring the shinai. Actually, I don't know why I'm using the big shinai when Jan actually sent me these things that are amazing. So when I do kote, I try to keep my shinai in like this, right? And the way that I see people do it sometimes is that instead of this is the shinai doing kote, throwing the kote into the kote like this, they kind of throw it down like this. And it does work, but I feel that a lot of times people end up hitting the suba, right? When it comes down this way. And I feel for me that kote for Kihon works better coming in from the top rather than from underneath. The kote underneath, I use it on different situations. Like for example, when the person is lifting the hands, I throw it out. I throw it out more from like, I'm not gonna say underneath. And it's confusing, I'm sorry, because like, I don't know if it's making sense, because I don't mean going underneath as going from underneath here. I'm thinking that my hands, my target is to come from on top of the kote rather than coming down like this. And the main problem that I notice when I show kote to beginners is that when they try to do it like this, and I mean like throwing the hands down like this rather than extending out, is that they have to overcompensate so much to lift the tip as they approach to then hit, right? Where I try to make it where it's just kind of like a straightforward approach. So it's like this. And it's the same motion that is happening in the video here. It's the same motion that is happening here, but it is maybe not as evident when the kote is so high. So let me see, I think the kote before it. So you see this, maybe this is a little bit, Jan, okay, yes, the elevation of the hands is one of the things. Let me see. Let me see, maybe I can move it this way. Okay, I hate sometimes maybe this thing is too big set up right now. Let me see if I can make it a little bit smaller and you guys can still enjoy it. Sorry guys, I don't like to move the screen so much like this, but I think, okay, hope that is better. So as it's coming forward, so you see the moment of strike, he is hitting away. I notice a lot of the times when people do kote, they throw the hands down, right? I like to avoid this for basic kote. This is what I mean. Let me see if I can find the video that I saw earlier today real quick and I can show that. Because, okay, it's not that it doesn't work to do the kote like this, but you have to have more skill to avoid the tsuba and you have to understand a little bit better your body position. I feel like this is a more straightforward and basic way of practicing kote to start creating confidence on actually getting a good strike. So let me see if I can find, I think it was in the Takanabe video. Sorry. I don't know if you guys heard that and it was super loud. I think it was in the Takanabe video. Let me see 1 second, guys. Okay, let me see if you guys can see this. Okay. 2126, open file. Okay. No me olvido de la gente que habla en español, por favor, si tienen alguna pregunta, déjenme saber, pero se me hace difícil hablar en los dos al mismo tiempo, así que recuérdenme. Man, dude, like, quick access, recent files, Takanabe, okay. Okay, maybe it's in this one. Give it a second. Oh, okay. I feel like Takanabe's posture in this video is not necessarily the best example either for, no, but you see here, he's lifting the hands, he's high up. Okay, hold on, let me see. So, let's see. So even here, you see that he is bringing the hands up, right? And stretching it forward. Man, it might not have been this video. I saw so many videos this week, guys. I'm so sorry. But even you see like the hands are being stretched out and he's getting a good extension and coming up. But when you bring the hands down, like this, like, you know, if you see the way that they're hitting the kote, they're hitting it out with a good extension on the wrist and so on. You can hit the kote, and as a matter of fact, you see this a lot from Eiga Sensei when he closes the distance a lot, when he has to hit a kote that is very close to himself. But this normally, the opening for that is not necessarily a straightforward opening, but more like the person blocked. So it's a different, it's the same target, but it's a little bit of a different angle at the end. And I feel that most people tend to copy that ending point down rather than forward. That makes sense? Let me just catch up with some of the comments as I open the other video. Okay. Anyways, let me see. You said, Jake, you notice that with the men's strike, he brings his shinai up to a straight angle before the cut. You had your sensei trying to get you to reduce the movement a lot. So I think it also depends. Jan, and please share your experience as well, because I know you had, you know, a lot of we had a lot of discussions a lot about this. But when it comes to the strike, you want to create power with the swing, right? And for example, last year when I was with practicing at Ariga Sensei's dojo, one of the things that he was actually maybe it was like 2 years ago, lifting the shinai up to understand how to create that motion, right? To do this. But as you start becoming more proficient with tenouchi, you can actually reduce a lot of that motion and still get a good impact. So it really depends, I think, where you are. But ideally, you want to learn how to create momentum with your arms the right way, and it's okay to lift the tip this much as long as you don't get any awkward movements, and then build yourself up to get a better impact. And this will also help for kote as well. Victor, you're saying perpendicular or parallel. So sorry, like it's been a while since I guess you said this. So if you can refresh me where you were with that. Kendo, Jan, you're saying you mean the height elevation of the hands. Yes. And Discipline said a lot of kendoka don't fully stretch their arms out to do kote. You should have the shinai parallel to the floor when completing the strike. So I think it depends a lot on where the target is, right? But my main point with this is that, let me get a kote, hold on. Okay. So for me, especially when you're start like learning how to do your techniques, I want to create confidence on the person. I want the person to be able to get the point, to understand what it feels like to get a good impact, right, on the target. And I feel kote becomes a little bit difficult, especially when you have your tsuba on. Hold on, let me get a shinai with a tsuba. Okay, so Víctor, me refiero a que el kote debe ser paralelo al piso y no perpendicular, que sería el detalle que estás tratando de explicar. El kote, en realidad, cuando estás hablando del kote, te estás refiriendo al impacto de la espada, al ángulo de la espada. Jake, our dojo texts are dulled starting 2 to 3rd Q. If you do particular well, they will elevate you to 1st Q in the first testing. So I'll be doing the test on May the 1st. Ah, okay. Cool. So they started you out learning the full lift, then strike for small men, or kote, but lately they're pushing to reduce the movement of the shinai for strike. Guessing that means you're able to do smaller strikes in their eyes. Yeah, you want to build up yourself to do a smaller swing, but getting a good impact. So I think that means that you're progressing. So, Victor, I hope that what I'm about to say, and Jan, I hope what I'm about to say makes sense on what I'm trying to explain. So when you have the kote here, right, and the person is trying to attack kote, they do a lot of times, they go around and they try to angle up to hit the kote, but this ends up hitting kind of like more of the atama, right? Maybe sometimes it gets here, but still it gets very, very messy. When it's here and the kote comes from underneath, there are high chances, if it's coming straight, that it's going to hit suba, and that's why I feel like people tend to deflect, throw the angle on the kote. With someone that knows what they're doing, so if you've been practicing kote and you know how to get your kote, you will understand that you cannot really come in here. You have to come a little bit more here, and this is many ways to do it. Many people, they throw the kote a little bit to the side. Sometimes they step a little bit to the side. So they do these little adjustments in order to get this kote. But coming in forward, if the shinai is coming in this way, you get a good contact without getting the interference from the tsuba, right? Because if it's coming from below, if your tsuba is coming below the opponent's tsuba, you're going to have trouble getting a clean kote. But if it's coming from the top, you actually gonna get a much cleaner kote. So this is kind of like for basic kote that normally this is how I was taught, and this is the reason why I was taught this. But obviously, when the person lifts the hands, you shouldn't do the same thing, right? Now comes in the different angle. So it's a small detail, but I feel that it has helped me create confidence when I'm teaching kote, and it makes it, if you notice it, this is how it's practiced a lot when they're doing straightforward kote. So if you watch, so pretty much what I'm saying is that if you are practicing straightforward basic kote and you're hitting the tsuba a lot, maybe your sense is telling you also don't go out to the side, don't hit in awkward angles. It could be because you're coming in from a lower angle than you should. So if you watch here, when he strikes, I mean it's kind of unfair because he's completely opening here. So I wish he kind of stayed in that position to see a little bit better. But here, see when he hits, he tries to come in with an angle like this. So he's cutting like this. He's cutting like this rather than cutting like this. It's I need to make a video about this, I guess, because it's hard to do it without a demonstration. So again, totally. I don't like the way that he does the kote in this video. Totally don't. I don't know if I have a video on a kote. Let me see. I think I have. Let me see something, guys. Guess I should have this a little bit better. Prepare. Nope, this is not a good. Okay, I don't remember where I have this, but I'll try to have it for next time. But when especially you see this when people do the kote with a small swing. Jake say he really bends his back leg as well. He applies the pressure forward still, so not a big deal, but looks really bent to you. So good eye, good eye. Let's. So you mean where? Like here at this point, Jake? So at this, remember, like when you're in forward momentum, to do the fumikiri, you have to have a bend on it. But the main thing is that he's doing that push as he has already momentum. Is not on his kamae. What I'm trying to say, like you want to avoid, is that when you're in kamae or initiating that motion, you don't want to break your leg. You don't want to bend your leg. You want to have the power coming in from the back leg. But the very last second before your foot leaves the ground, you're going to do a little bit of a spring motion with that leg. Okay, sorry. It could be, Jake, it could be. You want to make sure that you're light on your feet. So if you feel like you cannot move, there's something that you're doing wrong. Or if you feel that it's highly uncomfortable, then something is wrong. Oh, Westblade, have good practice. You're in Memphis. Register Sensei just passed by this week over here. So I don't know if you practice with him at all. I know he's not in Memphis, but I know you guys are close. So hello from Florida. Okay, do. This is very basic do, right? There's a very big opening and stuff like that. Normally, it's hard to create this opening in Jigeiko, right? But I like how the intention here is to create the opening before the do. Now, this I think is a very good do. It's just, again, not the way I like to do it, in the sense that I feel that he's pulling his arm a little bit too much to the right. Now, he knows what he's doing and he understands why he's doing it, but my problem is when people try to copy this, they overdo it. So for me, I wouldn't want to use necessarily this as an example without giving the little bit of disclaimer, right? After this point, he's going to take the center. Okay, they froze it right at that moment. You see, he doesn't keep going with the left hand. That's it. So when I am instructing do at the very beginning, I try to make it where they hit as extended as possible, because I feel that if you do this, you understand how to get a good impact with a full extension, and then you can build yourself at a closer distance and adjust to the different situations. But ideally, you want to understand that you don't want to, especially cross the hands like this, right? Many people tend to do this when they hit the do. You want to hit and create good impact forward. If you have to do it here because it's closer the distance, okay, that happens. But don't make that the main point where you have to hit out too much like this. But the opening, creating the opening, it's very important. Guys, whenever you do your Kihon practice, the practice is not just the impact. It's also understanding the opening for the impact. So I do think that this is a very good example because he's not just going. He is trying to get that opening and practicing what does it look like to make the opening and create a good technique. Have the opportunity and create the opportunity for a good technique. So Whether you're kakarite or motodachi, practice this actively. Don't just go through the drill of pa man, pa den, pa kote, pa do. No, 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 no. Try to understand what is happening that is giving you the opportunity to hit man. It's a good practice as a motodachi to see how your opponent is doing pressure, and at the same time, it's a good opportunity for kakarite to create and understand the conversation with the opponent and find out when is the opportunity to strike. A good motodachi will make that clear, but at the same time, you want to understand what is it that you can do to make an opening. Hope that makes sense. I hope that's something that you really take in consideration. Now, this is different than if we were doing, for example, uchikomi or kakarigeko. Depending on the instruction, there's a time and place where you're going to just blindly go or just keep going. But even then, you still want to understand what does it feel like to have your sword against your opponent's sword, and what is it that's going to give you a good opening. Yeah, so practice that and make sure that you don't just blindly go. I was watching this video from Arnold Schwarzenegger of him working out, and it's a little bit of a stretch. But he was talking about how when he used to go to the gym, he will make sure that he was thinking about the muscle, about the movement to develop this muscle and to develop the muscle. So, and he noticed that many people at the gym, they're just going through the reps, and he noticed that a lot of these people were not really getting the results they wanted. And a lot of that is because you're just mindlessly going. But if you pay attention, even with less time, you're gonna get better results than if you were to do more time with less attention. So always be mindful in your practice. Westblade says the rest Sensei told you that he had a great time. Oh, he's amazing. So I love having him over. My explanation of hand position at do impact is incredibly valuable and accurate. Oh, thank you. No, I appreciate the feedback. But I do have to say that Takenouchi, or I don't know if this is Takenouchi. I think, no, Takenouchi is the one receiving right now. This do, it's very well done. It's just I want to make sure that everybody knows that you don't want to go over too much. Jake, when you do strikes for do, you think about it very similar to the kirikashi angle. I agree 100% with that, and this is the way I build it up. As a matter of fact, I actually have the students do that. Do a cut for kirikashi, and then do the same thing for the do. So, yeah, good point. Good point of reference. Tsuki. I don't know what to say right now about Tsuki. It's something that I would like to say that we need to practice more, everybody. But you also want to understand how to practice it safely. So I guess I'll talk about that. When you do Tsuki, it's not about just going in there and hitting as hard as you can. You have to understand how to get into the target. So if you do it at first, understand maybe by just walking into the target and extending your hands. But something that's very important, it's mixing your body, your hands with the tenouchi. Understanding how to do tenouchi at that moment without, losing the center is very important. And although you're going in with full commitment, you also go in there with full attention, because if you miss it, you want to release it. You don't want to hurt the person you're practicing with. I used to practice with somebody that he had no consciousness on this point, that if he missed, you want to take care of your partner. And of course, as a receiver, there's things I can do to avoid getting seriously hurt. But sometimes, it has to be from both sides. So always be mindful. Build your confidence by doing it slowly, and then understand how to do it better by building up the speed little by little. Jake, that was a hard Tsuki. Yes, it was. But at the same time, it's very, very well executed. And let's break it down a little bit. Okay, first of all, for Tsuki, you want to have a comfortable distance coming in, right? Especially when you're new at this. You don't want to overextend yourself to hit it. Now, the way that he's coming in straight in and stretching the hands. But here, at this point, that's when he's doing the tenouchi, right? And that creates a lot of extra rigidity for a fraction of a second that gives that impact. Now, notice that all the force is coming from the body. It's not coming in from him pushing over. He's not bending forward. And this is the biggest mistake that I see people do when they do Tsuki. Give me a second. When you're doing the Tsuki, the energy comes from your footwork, from your body. Yes, you stretch the hands and you do tenouchi at the end, but you don't overly push from the upper hand, right? And if you watch here, at the moment of impact, see, he has a full extension before contact. He does tenouchi right before contact. And then the body is the one bringing the energy into the opponent. He's not pushing over, he's not leaning into it. One, because if he were to be leaning into it and he's in a shiai, for example, he has nowhere, or it's going to be really hard to recover if he misses and he wants to do another technique. So this is number one. Number two, obviously for safety, and at the same time, you want to be able to be in balance at the moment of the impact. If you lean over, if you over push, you are going to lose that balance. So doing proper Tsuki is not only about keeping your opponent safe, but also about opening yourself for doors or opening yourself for opportunities, for different possibilities if the need is there. That makes sense? I hope that's useful. So Jake, you're saying at your dojo you have practiced Tsuki only on the dummy, and then can only use it on someone if they use Jodan or one of the higher level senses. Yeah, I mean, and it's a good thing. It's a good practice because that way you avoid people getting injured or being in a bad position. Kakarigeko, you used to practice Tsuki like this every day. First 2 months only use Fumikiri while the arms stay in Chudan. That very good progression. Next 2 months, very slightly extend the arms, then fully extend it. Also, Tsuki Oikome for practice a correct posture after a strike. Great drills, great progressions. Yeah, I need to start doing this too. It's very good. So this one is definitely one of the most important points for Tsuki. You see, there's full extension. Actually, guys, this is very important. Fumikomi is not about just holding. I cannot say it too many. It's like, I cannot say this enough. Fumikomi is not about doing a loud sound. Fumikomi is not about landing on the foot. It's about making that foot pull you forward, right? So I think it's very evident at this point right here. Watch the right leg at the moment of the Fumikomi. Look, he's pushing with the back leg, but then when the Fumikomi hits, look what happens. Look at his hips. Right? Fumikomi again. Fumikomi is used to bring the body forward. If you put your weight down on the right leg, especially if you dip, what's going to happen is that front leg is not going to bring you forward, but instead it has to divide the work between bringing you up and keep the momentum. So it's harder. If you have good support from the back leg and you push forward, the right leg can bring you in and bring the hips. And you can see it again, I think, very clearly. Wait, hold on. You can see it very clearly here. Look. At the moment of the fumikomi, if you look at the hips, pop, right? Like it brings them in. I don't know. How do you see it? Jake, he really bends the knee on the tsuki strike. Is it similar to the fumikomi from earlier, or is it softened to the impact of the tsuki? So when you say it bends his knee, Jake, which knee are you talking about? Left or right? Let me see. So right here, again, when you step forward before a technique, you have to have your back leg engaged, right? So at this point, he brings the back leg in, and I always say anchor, even though I know Jan says that anchoring can be a little bit misleading, and he's right, because it's not about putting your foot down. It's about bracing yourself to push forward. So he brings the back leg to brace it to go forward. And then at this point, again, if you notice, he doesn't bend the knee when he's like this. He bends the knee after he started pushing and he's in an angle. If you think about this, okay, okay, maybe a piece of paper. Give me a second. Okay, imagine that this is your leg, right? And this is your knee, and this is your foot, right? So if this is the leg, if you have your leg straight but bent, when you push, the force is going to bring you up, right? But what he's doing is like he has the leg straight and he's leaning forward. Like, this is funny, but I hope it makes the point. It's, you see, like he's bending it slightly at the last second, but when it's already in motion and forward. The idea with this is that, let me see if you guys, I don't know why my computer is not catching the camera on this side, so I've been having problems with that, so I'm sorry. I'll try to figure out, maybe I need to start streaming on the Mac again. But when he's coming in, the point is to bring this forward, right? If you have it bent, right, there's only one way that you can bring this, and it has to do with this push. But if your legs is straight, you're pushing from here first, and then at this point you kick and you get the little push, right? So I hope that makes sense. Louis, thank you very much for passing by. You're welcome to the stream. You really enjoy the video blogs. You hope you're well. Yes, I'm very good. Thank you very much. And I also have Kendo today, so I hope I have a good practice. Jan, you said you love the paper leg. Definitely something you're going to do in the second dojo was a discussion sometimes. Nice. Yes, cool. Yes, I just came up with it. It's gonna be my, you're right. I mean, maybe I should get like, you know what I've been thinking of getting? Those dummies for drawing. I think that will be a good addition to the stream. Maybe I can even put him into a bogu. Paper leg actually work really well, for example. Huh, okay. Simplicity and its best, I guess. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the feedback. Okay. So, as a matter of fact, I mentioned that I had a guest this week, Register Sensei, as you heard me said earlier. He got me into a nice Ippon. He got me a very nice Ippon because I did this. I landed like this and I didn't re-engage my leg. And guess what happens at this point? I wanted to go forward. I wanted to be in a position where I can keep going. But I didn't re-engage my back leg, so I really couldn't. And then he came forward, but because all my weight was on my front leg, because that's what happens. If you have your leg like this, there's very little support that you're gonna have from your back leg. Because all my weight was on my front leg, pushing didn't do anything but to bring me up. So I couldn't really dodge. I couldn't move right or left. So this is one of the things where you want to try to keep your weight distributed properly. You want to have balance, and you want to make sure that both legs are engaged at the same time. Because if you don't engage them, then you cannot move efficiently, quick, and properly. So I don't know if that's a word, but anyways, you want to make sure that your legs are set right in order for you to move. Jake, so in a way, he's pushed forward with the back straight leg and sitting himself to build the spring tension as he pushes his right leg for Fumikami, then shoots off the bent back leg. Okay, when you said sitting, what do you mean about sitting himself? Because he's not like sinking down or anything like that. He's just, and I have to say this, Kendo is simple. If you have to think so much about these details, you're going to have a hard time. This is a natural thing, and you will probably do it if you're trying to like jump over a puddle. It's the same, I think it's the same motion, right? You don't want to really stress too much about this because you're gonna burn yourself out. It's normal. Imagine that you have like a little puddle in front of you and you want to just, just hop over it. You want to just naturally just come in, and then your leg is going to kick the floor. So this is the Fumikiri. Hope that makes sense. Yeah. If you want, send me some videos. We can, whether it's a video from you or a video that you see from somebody else, yeah, send them to me and we can discuss them. And okay, I think this is all I wanted to check out for today. Yeah. So because I kind of want to go into the other videos and I don't want to take the whole day from you guys, but I want to transition this into this video and of course into building ourselves up for testing. So I mentioned that I got a couple of questions when it comes to explosivity and testing for Shodan. So as you guys might know, we have a Discord server, and in this Discord server, in the resources tab, I posted a testing guide all the way up to Golden. And in this testing guide, we have different points that are needed to reach each level. And the main one that I want to talk about today is number 4. Can you strike aggressively from Isokuito no Mae? Because I think this has to do a lot with that explosivity. And it has to do a lot with that momentum and the kick of the leg, the paper leg that I was talking about. This week I had a discussion about explosivity and being fast and how to do a fast technique. The speed, yes, we can create speed about accelerating from 0 and exploding and being fast. But a lot of the times you tend to be faster than your opponent, not because you can accelerate the fastest, but it's because you already have that momentum. So when I was talking in the paper leg, that you start with the back leg straight but not locked. It's hard to do it with a paper, so please do not. This is not an accurate representation of real life. When you're here, you want to start creating the momentum, and then you explode. It's not that you explode from here. And this is the mistake that many people tend to do because they're just waiting for the technique. So especially when you see this when people are waiting for Kaeshido, they're just there, and then at the last second, they and then they have to go fast. This is not how you want to approach this. You want to have a little bit of momentum, start creating the momentum, and again, this transitions later on to pressure, semi, and so on. So this is just, I guess, an easier way for me to say it. You start creating that pressure, and when you see that the person is starting to move, you're already being in motion. The person commits to the technique, you're already in motion, and then you explode for your technique, rather than having to wait and come around. Does that make sense? Hope it does. Jake, so okay, where? Okay, sitting yourself. Jake, you say, okay, photo example helps. You're still working on building that lunge, so it's something you're trying to understand as best as you can. Yes, and as a matter of fact, one exercise that it was given to me that I feel illustrates this a lot. If you do a lunge, right? Now you're talking about lunges. If you do a lunge, you hold yourself here with your weight on the back leg as much as in the front leg, right? If you want to come up, look what happens, and I'm sorry I don't have the second camera here. Look what happens if I try to come up with my right leg. I have to put my weight forward to then pull myself up, right? But if I do this with my back heel down, I have weight on my back leg is straight, and then I push, right? So if you do this, right, much easier, and then the front leg, instead of pulling you up, is just pulling you forward. So this is a great way to start understanding how both legs work together rather than one after the other. For me at least. So, whew, that's a lot. Anyways, so I wanna watch this video. I'm gonna run it over. I'm gonna run it through. If you have any questions, if you find something that's interesting, catches your eye, please let me know, and I'll stop it at that point. Okay. I just want to remind everybody. Oh, cool, Galaxy! You have somebody that you know each other here. Awesome. I like to have dojo people together in the stream. That's awesome. Give me 1 second, guys. Okay, guys. As you know, we have a Discord server. I just want to make sure that everybody knows about it. If you would like to join it, I'm sending the link in the chat. This way, if you like to talk to people out here, you're welcome to do so. And if you like to send me some of your videos for me to review and we can use it for the stream, or you want me to do a private viewing, let me know. You can send them to me that way. I think that's the easiest way and most confidential way of doing it so as well. What was I going to say as well? Give me 1 second. Okay. Also, guys, if you would like to support the channel, you can do so by becoming a member of the stream or the channel, and there's a link over there that you can click so you can check out the perks from doing so. Okay, you guys got some audio there. Let me know if it's too loud. But again, this is Hoshiko on the right. And Jan, remind me who's on the left on the red. But Hoshiko is on white, and I know the person on the left is Hokkaido because I can understand that kanji. I think that's Hokkaido, right? Anyways, enough talking. Thank you, Jake, for the feedback on the Discord. Yeah, I hope we keep growing and we keep making connections this way. Okay, I do have to say, Hoshiko, it's a very young competitor. So as you see people evolve in their kendo, you're gonna see some things change in order to do different types of to adapt how their body is developing. So I think that from Hoshiko you can still see a lot of that the college and high school habits where he's very sporty, his legs are very wide apart, and I actually have a friend that he was a competitor for, very, very strong competitor for college. And I was asking him specifically about this, like, why does he like to stand with the legs so wide? And if you notice, okay, let me see. So, this guy's in the middle. So if you see, naturally, these two kamas are different, right? What up, Jan? Have a good day, man. Thank you very much for passing by. I always love having you here, and thank you for moderating the time while you're here. Okay. Okay, guys. If you notice, these two kamae are very different in the sense of how wide their legs are, right? I actually have a friend that he has his kamae with a wider stance, and we're always told, don't have such a wide kamae. Make sure that your legs are close to each other. So yes, we want, and as a matter of fact, as you develop in your kendo, having a closer stand will allow you to have a longer reach, and things like this is going to allow you to have more stability and so on. The answer that I got the answer that I got from my friend of why he has such a wide stand is because he's telling me he likes to kind of bait people on coming in so he can readjust the distance and attack. So it's a strategy that he uses to approach his opponents. I'm not saying that that's what Hoshiko is doing, but keep in mind that if you're looking at somebody to get as a role model, you gotta try to understand why is it that they're doing the things that they're doing. Don't just blindly copy, because we can get a lot of bad habits from it. One of them being, if you have your weight so wide, is that you tend to shift your weight on the front leg. Hoshiko is not doing that. He's keeping his weight distributed between both legs. So this is very important to keep in mind, because again, if you have your weight on the front leg, you won't be able to move efficiently. You're gonna get caught. You're gonna get scored on. So, quick little side note there. Jake, you said you like the idea of baiting the opponent. You love the idea of countering instead of just being the fastest first strike, but you need to get much better before you can do that effectively. Yes, and I'm going to say, it's not that you need to get better. So you need to get hit. You need to get hit a lot to understand timing, to understand what people see, and to also, because you want to understand what people see for them to attack you, because then if you understand that, then you can replicate it when you want, and instead of reacting, now you are the aggressor, even though you're countering. This is one of the things. This is my approach to kendo, by the way. My approach to kendo is trying to not be the person just waiting and defending and countering. If I want to counter, I want to be the aggressor by creating the necessity for my opponent to attack. So again, if you get hit constantly and you understand what is telling your opponent that it's okay to hit you, you can then replicate it. And at that point, even though you're going to be countering, at the same time, you're in control, or at least more in control of the situation. Overall, in my approach to kendo, I want to avoid going backwards. I know it can be a strategy, but if you're going to use it as a strategy, don't depend on it. Okay, don't make that your clutch. Don't make that your to-go default. Always go forward. Go forward, go forward, go forward. I don't want you guys to create bad habits because of me. Please. So this is a consequence of having such a wide stance. You see what he had to do to he kind of had to dive in to close the distance after he missed, right? Because again, he has a wide stance. It's going to be harder for him to get a longer reach. So this happens, it's natural, but he's very good at recovering from it. You have to have very aggressive footwork if you're going to do that, guys. Yep, that's correct, Discipline. Hoshiko is exceptionally smart when it comes to adapting to situations. On the first time that he won the All Japan, that's when I started noticing a lot about his footwork and his strategy. He does a lot of this this deception on distance. So he pushes forward and goes back and then attacks and like stuff like that. Hoshiko has a very interesting footwork. I really like it. You see, he pushes, he slides on his feet. Notice that when he moves the back foot, he re-engages it immediately to go forward. You see, right here, let me just try to go back a little bit. right here, this is a point of a lot of instability for many people. But the secret for his footwork right now, it's the back foot, right? Even though it's kind of high, it's not so high on relation to how wide his legs are, right? So he's trying to keep as much surface on the ground, right? If he lifts it more, he's gonna have less foot on the ground. So the more foot you have, the more power you're gonna be able to push out. I wish that guy wasn't there so I can show what happens when he does this scare. Okay, this is the point of danger, guys. You see, he closes the distance, but here he's raising the foot so much as he's putting all his weight on the front leg. This is dangerous. But even so, he's being conscious of the left foot. He's not lifting it off the ground. So normally, most people, what ends up happening when they put that weight on the front leg, the back foot kind of slides because there's no power there. There's no support there. Here, even though Hoshiko is supporting himself mostly on the front leg, he's still keeping himself slightly anchored so he can push at the last second. He's not going to get too much reach, but he's going to be able to do it. Okay, we're going to watch this again. I know, guys, you probably enjoyed that disarming, very sneaky. I think even some people he did it very nicely in the sense that he did it as if it was part of his technique. So I don't think he's gonna get a hansoku from that, but people could get a hansoku from this. But the reason why I want to show this. Okay, many people, when they move forward, the back leg feels like it's detached from the body. Watch how Hoshiko approaches the distance and his back leg kind of moves, like slides in, and he re-engages immediately when he gets to the final position. Look. Right here. You see, as he moves forward, he pushes with the back leg, and the back leg moves in and re-engages. That slide right there, and look, right after, sorry, like the connection, I guess, like it's, as soon as he stops sliding, he pushes again. This is very important, guys. The back leg is so important because it's going to give you power and explosivity. This is what's going to allow you to attack, as I said before, from the testing guide, what's the word that I'm looking for? Aggressively. Yeah, to attack aggressively. See, at this point, he does that to kind of make the person confident to come back. Galaxy, so you're about to go into practice. It's awesome. I'm actually about to go to practice too. So this is I like to do this before practice. It's to give me ideas what I want to focus for the day. So again, my focus will be today to engage the left leg. This is just what I've been working for this year for 2023, but also to pull myself forward with the front leg, with the right leg. Shane, welcome to the stream. And Jake, so you're doing Subudhi. Footwork too. If you do some footwork exercises, also, I'm guessing you're probably practicing a lot of the stuff that we're watching here. Okay, maybe not so much for Shodan, but for definitely higher levels, you want to have attention for your opponent during the testing at all times. You want to make sure that you don't break that. Saying you have to do it for Shodan too, but I think it becomes a bigger aspect of it as you move up. And notice how Hoshiko, he's always with intention. He's like, right now, both of them, they're looking at each other. They are making sure that they are engaged. You can feel the tension, right? Let's watch this for a second. Guys, as I'm watching this, I also want to remind you that short steps are completely underrated, I think. Many people are so focused on how far you can hit and thinking that you have to be super fast to explode forward. But a big part of your Kendo repertoire, your Kendo vocabulary, has to be your ability to move in small increments. So you see here, they're very close to each other, especially for these two players. These two players can explode and have such a big reach in a fraction of a second. So you want to be very mindful. And as he does this, when he's stepping, look how short the steps are to move towards each other. You see, like he did just a little bit of a fraction of a step to try to get a reaction from this close distance, because you don't want to just blindly go. Just because you're close, you don't want to blindly go. You want to do something to create pressure, but at the same time, you don't want to stay there. So it's tricky. But what I'm saying is understand how to move efficiently with power, fluidity, with small steps. Yeah, you have to be careful with that tendon. Stretch it out. As a matter of fact, a quick exercise you can do to understand footwork, do it with the other. Do it backwards. Do it like with the other leg. For some reason, not for some reason, but we are forced to kind of start from zero. When you do this, you start from zero with your body, but obviously you have the knowledge there. So it makes you be a little bit more aware of how to do it, and it's easier to transfer it to the other leg. It's worked for me a lot. What's Blade? You're going to practice, so well, guys, the stream stays, even though it gets unlisted. You can go into the what's it called? The folders, the main page, and there you can see the live streams. It'll still be up. So even though I put it unlisted, you'll still be able to access it. And I should be coming with a video for Monday about footwork. I was gonna do it for last Monday, but I didn't have enough time to record everything I wanted. But now I have it. This kote men, guys. This kote men. Look at the kote. Even though it's not kote, right? He didn't strike kote. Hold on, give me a second. Okay. Let's see, maybe here. Okay, so you see how small of a swing he just did, right? Of course, he missed to go over, but he did a small swing for the kote and straight forward. And immediately from there, he comes up for the men. It wasn't successful. And this is the part where you want to make sure that what do you do before your technique to make the opening, right? He didn't do anything, so there wasn't an opening. But still, I just wanted to take a second to check the performance of that kote man. So a lot of times I like to watch the tournaments, not necessarily the Ippon. So I'm actually happy that this is going to Encho, because I like to watch what is happening that is giving the players information about what's going to be the final opening, right? And you see how they're approaching it. Again, you see how Hoshiko, he puts the distance when he comes back. He's really good at that. So maybe his opponent knows this and he's changing his strategy. Right now, that put him at risk with that kote though. So you have to balance those things out. All these things are incredibly sensitive. Oh, right here, this exchange, I feel like this is classic Hoshiko. Let me play a little bit slower. If you notice, he puts a little bit pressure forward, he comes back, his opponent kind of commits, and he goes back into a men, you see? This is the classic, I think. The classic, I think this is his tokuiwas. I think this is his best technique. So he is, in this one, he kind of got close. How would you approach this? How would you approach this bait that he's trying to do? You guys remember when I was talking earlier about that kote, like doing that kote lower rather than up? I feel like this is kind of how he approached that to get around. But if you notice, let me see. Look at Hoshiko. He's gonna do a bunch of different motions to try to get an opening, right? He's gonna push down, push out to the kote, fake that he's going a kote, to then make an opening for the man. He didn't get the opening for the man, and then he tried to adjust, but obviously it got a little bit blurry, right? So it didn't make a good opening. Shen, if you're here, I think I mentioned this to you a while back. Sometimes when we're doing these motions to get a reaction, this feints or whatever you want to call them, if you do them too fast, your opponent will not have the time or the opportunity to react to it to create the opening. I always say that when somebody reacts and covers, like overreacts, they also overcorrect, and that's why they get an opening. But okay, maybe it's a good topic to mention for a specific video. Whenever you're doing your feint, like if you decide to do a feint to get an opening and the person is not opening, a lot of times it happens because you do it too fast. You want to take advantage of the person overreacting, like doing something overreacting, because right after that they're going to overcorrect. But if you're doing too fast and you don't give enough time for the person to do this overreaction, then there's not going to be really an opening for you to take. If you notice here, I feel that Hoshiko, who's in the white on the right, he tries to get this opening, but he does it so fast that it doesn't register. Look. So if he would have done this, I feel a little bit slower. Watch it one more time. he did it a little bit fast, and obviously his opponent was ready to kind of stay safe with the distance, so he didn't really overreact, so he couldn't have that overcorrection, so Hoshiko could have a good opening. A lot of the times you almost have to kind of hold yourself back into what the things you're doing to create that opening, but that puts you at risk. So you have to be very mindful and be very careful of how you approach your opponent, because your opponent might actually capitalize on you trying to do a waza that you're not really committing into, and then take over and score on you rather than you scoring on them. Shen, it takes average human reflex 0.2, 0.3 seconds from seeing it, and then the brain translates into an action. So it's like YouTube 25 frames per second videos should be about 4 to 5 frames from not noticing a semi reacting to a semi. That's actually pretty good conversion, man. So I feel that this action right here, let me see. Look what Hoshiko is going to do. He's going to kind of close the distance to then attack for kote. Again, I think he's doing it very quick. In this one, he had a little bit. Okay. In this exchange, he had a little bit of a better timing for that feint, if you want to call it that. But his opponent wasn't really committed. But you can start seeing that he's approaching this a little bit different. This is actually very interesting. You want to give a little bit of time for your opponent to react, but your opponent may not react the way you want him to. So it kind of becomes a balancing act. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but they had stopped the fight before. I thought it was for Encho. So I don't know what it is with the rules now, because I think they did a 4-minute, and then now they do like a second Encho or something. I'm confused. And I want to remind you guys that this is within the provisional rules, right? So I wanna bring that up because I feel there's a lot of confusion. Oh, this was a great exchange. I feel like there's a lot of confusion of how approaching Tsubasari, Hikiwasa, and so on. If you guys want to better understand these rules right now, you got to watch the most recent tournaments. But this is a crazy approach. Watch. So I don't know how it's been for you guys, but most of the times for me, my eyes have gone to Hoshiko. And I think I figure out what is it that is making my eyes go more towards Hoshiko. If you notice, Hoshiko has so much attention on everything that his opponent is doing and trying to catch either when he makes his opponent make a mistake or when his opponent on its own make a mistake. He's being very, very, very observant. Now, watch in slow motion all the movements that he does to try to get an opening. Now here, Within all of these combinations, there's something very interesting that is happening. A lot of the times when people are doing something to get a reaction, they just do it and immediately go to a technique. If you notice the way that Hoshiko is doing it, there's not one rhythm. He's changing the rhythm up, down, up, and down. Watch this. Oh, sorry. So you see, he comes in, then goes out for the kote, right? Slide pause. He kind of threatens the man. Then, of course, he has to be on the defense because his opponent does something. But then immediately, when he sees that his opponent lifts the hands, he goes for the do. So one more time, watch in slow motion. So he's taking advantage of some of the relaxation and tension that is between his opponent to try to catch that opening. This is very important, especially when you're training for Shiai. You want to learn how to change the rhythm rather than attacking at one constant space. He didn't go like pop, 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 pop. It was more like pop, 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 pa, right? So it's a very interesting. I feel almost that like there is a rhythm into how he attacks, but that rhythm it's interrupted or it's like is diverse. This rhythm is not just boring and monotone, right? It's okay. This rhythm is there, but it's not like a boring rhythm. You can actually you play around with it. Hope that makes sense because using completely abstract concepts for that. Okay, before the fight is over, which I think is going to be over soon, I don't know who the winner of this fight is, but I'm gonna tell you this: Hoshiko has this level of attention and continuity on his kendo. He hasn't dropped the level of intensity, so I think that this is going to be his strength because he's going to have that mental fortitude to keep going, and maybe his opponent will not have it as much. That relationship between having tension against opponent, but at the same time keeping the upper body relaxed, light on his feet, is very important. That's a very very strong man that he had to like pull back because there wasn't an opening. But you see, there was an encho and then it finished. So this is the part that is making me is confusing me. What's happening? Is there some new change in the rules or something like this? Are they separating the enchos? Hmm. Okay. Having a break, it just resets the match, guys. Always keep this in mind. Keep this in mind, guys. When you come back after a break, whether there's somebody dropped their shinai, got out of the court, you have to be very careful because it's a very different. It could be a very different opponent. Iso kind of media. Okay, media. I'm gonna call you media because it's so hard to pronounce it for me. There's a break after you think 3 minutes in Encho because of having to wear a mask. Okay, I was not aware of that. I didn't know about this. Very interesting. Okay, guys. My main point for today, when it comes to for the questions that we're talking about explosivity and attacking aggressively in Kendo, I was waiting for the Ippon because I'm sure that this level of competitors will always present that. What does it mean to attack aggressively in Kendo? It means to put everything on your attack, not holding back, throwing yourself in there. Many people think that it is about how fast you can accelerate in order to get a technique. But no, you want to be able to have power into your technique, but at the same time have stability and control. I believe that one of the easiest ways to start approaching this is to understand everything that happens as you move and understand that you have to create momentum before your technique. It is really hard to start from zero every time. So if you notice here, Hoshiko gets the Ippon on the right. Hoshiko on the right gets the Ippon. You're going to see that he's going to use his approach into his opponent to fuel the moment of the commitment to the technique. Watch. It's very, let's watch it even slower. So I don't think he actually made good contact on there, right? But again, and I said this earlier, right? Hoshiko, I think this is his Tokui Waza, that he's able to move back and then come forward. But look, when he moves back and then he uses his lower body to come in forward. It's hard for me to explain it because he's going backwards, he's accelerating fast, right? But he's not going backwards with the intention of going back and holding himself back. He's going back and supporting himself to then come forward. And you can see there is a buildup of speed. Watch. He steps back. He's anchored his his left leg. And then he starts moving himself forward. Yeah, look how crazy this is. Like he didn't have the reach there. His opponent did. But, and it gets a little bit more evident on the opponent on the left. It's hard to say that they're accelerating from zero because there's always a sense of momentum and intention towards the opponent. Attacking with having an aggressive attack, you have to engage your muscle, but you have to learn what muscles you're engaging. So a good practice for this, it's when you're doing your Kihon, understand how to approach the opponent, understand when there's an opening, and continue that approach into the technique. This doesn't mean just blindly go forward, but it means to come in without the sense that you're cutting your commitment after taking one step. I think it's very clear to see it from the opponent on the red because it's going forward. Look, step in and come in for the technique. Very, very good approach into the technique. It's very important that we develop this. It's very important. Okay, let me just pass here. It's very important that we develop this commitment into our technique. Number one, because it's going to look good for judges when you're testing or for Ippons during a Shiai. But it's what's going to give us the opportunity to have support behind our technique, and if we miss our technique, to be able to do another one. If you don't attack aggressively, or if you attack halfway, there's a lot of things that you're gonna have to do to compensate in order to be ready to do another technique. So what does it mean to be able to attack aggressively what does it mean to attack aggressively? Is to be able to commit and to put everything on it without holding back. For this, you have to understand what is it that you're doing. So start by understanding the footwork, how to move your sword, how to engage your core, and then putting everything together to execute the technique. Hope that makes sense. Let me know in the comments if it doesn't or anything you want me to build up on that. But what do you guys think? How do you guys see this Ippon? I think it's a little bit unfair, but let's see why the judges will. It does look like maybe it did. Yeah, I think what happens is that the camera didn't catch the frame when the impact came from Hoshiko, because in full motion, it totally looks like it's Hoshiko's man, right? In here, it just looks like he didn't quite make it. Oh, but maybe he just hit. So if the person is going back like this, it counts as the men, right? Even though it may hit Mengane at this point. So maybe that's why when he does it, he does the regular speed. Nah, but I mean, I feel like red got the Ippon first, right? I don't know. Camera angle doesn't really help either. But this little step that Hoshiko does all the time to go back. Oh, sorry, you guys are not. Sorry, I had you guys in the wrong screen. But this little step that Hoshiko does back to go forward, then I think that's one of his best skills, and he's very good at creating that sense of overcommitment, but then the person has to readjust. If you notice, let's study a little bit of Hoshiko's step for this technique. Okay, so Hoshiko, I noticed he likes to do this a lot, where he puts pressure. Then when his opponent is committing, he kind of starts going back. And then when the person kind of has to readjust to this new distance, then he comes back forward. I think this is one of his best techniques. And let's see. So you see, he puts pressure forward. His opponent goes back, puts pressure again. When his opponent comes back forward, when his opponent's coming forward, then he starts going back. He goes back to re-engage the back leg. He slides the back foot as he's going to take a full step, but he didn't really take a full step. The back leg is already engaging forward. So that way, when he has to readjust, you see there's like a little bit of a pause. He's already on motion forward. So if we watch it frame by frame, I went too far back, sorry. So if we watch it frame by frame, he already moved back. He re-engaged the back leg. His back leg is pushing forward while his front leg is kind of coming back. His opponent is still adjusting to the moment. And then when his opponent is coming forward, this is when you see his front leg starting to move forward, right? But remember, he has been moving, or he has been pushing with the back leg, because the back leg we see that's been anchored, has been set this whole time. He hasn't changed that. And as his opponent is starting to create momentum, he's already creating that momentum for himself to then come in for the man to get the ippon. I think he does this very good. I'm not gonna say that this is what you want to do. You don't want to be the one always kind of like going back and forth. You gotta understand how it's done. But my main point with this is that you want to have a forward intention or start creating that momentum forward before your opponent does. This, I think that he's very good at, and this is something that we need to put into our own kendo, especially if we want to be explosive and have a good, strong technique. I see it kind of like as the rockets, when they start pushing up to get off in orbit, right? Like space rocket, they start putting the fuel down, like they start yeah, okay. So I see it like a rocket when it's about to take off. They have to put the propulsion to like start the lift, but the rocket doesn't quite move at the beginning, right? So I feel it's kind of like the same concept where he's pushing forward to kind of get the body to start creating motion. And then when the body it's moving, or where the body it's light, then he explodes in to get the technique. This is the concept. This is something that I'm personally trying to develop. This is my approach at the moment, where I'm trying to make my body light and commit it forward before that moment where I have to push, or doing this before my opponent has the opportunity to attack. So ends up being a lot of the times where, for example, for Kaishido, I think it's a good example. For Kaishido, I think it's a good example because I want to put pressure forward, and even though I stop, my feeling and my body, it's like I am going to keep going, but I don't, right? I put a little bit of pressure, my body stops, but I still have that forward intention, and when my opponent starts moving forward, when they commit, it's easier for me to already create motion. It is a difficult concept to kind of transmit, especially through video without any further examples. So I hope it's easier to convey. So Shen, you said look like Red got the man first in that I man. I think it looked like he hit first. Shen, the power roll face like a Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, I guess you can say that, but yeah, it will be easy to like misinterpret because they're standing still, right? I need to find an anime that kind of relates that a little bit better. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. Jake, you're pretty sure the power-up gels in Dragon Ball Z were inspired by Kendo Kiai. Maybe. Conan, how are you doing? Long time no see. And you are correct. Your mental state has to be connected to your physical state. And this makes a big influence on your commitment on the technique. As a matter of fact, I know I mentioned this before in the stream. I went to school for music therapy, and I'm going to kind of like quote a little bit of some studies. So when you're doing music therapy for physical rehab, one of the reasons why they found that it's this effective is because your neurons start syncing up with the rhythm, and then the physical therapist syncs up with the rhythm, and it's easier for the body to move when it's expecting to move. So maybe we can relate that study into what we do in Kendo. So if we put our mind on anticipating the beat, it will be easier for us to move. Maybe, I don't know. That's an interesting point to explore. But we talked about this with Andy Fisher when we were talking about Kamai and Kigamai and Migamai. So this is definitely a very good concept to keep in mind. I also mentioned it in my Kamai videos, but yeah, that's irrelevant. Let me see. I don't know why now YouTube is asking me to review some of the comments. So sorry if some of the comments don't go through early on. So Shen, you said Kendo Kiai came from the concept of sword of life versus sword of death. I cannot confirm or deny this information because I don't know. I need to find resources for that. Samurai Kiai to scare the okay, maybe that's why it got it got held back of the opponents, so they don't have to kill when they run. Okay, ninjas don't Kiai. I don't know. I have no idea. And Conan, you said you're doing fine. Hope live is streaming well. Yeah, well, Kendo is back up. Hopefully now we have people going into the dojo now that the dojo is open. But yeah, everything's good, man. Thank you very much. Okay, guys. So I hope that today I made my goal of talking a little bit about explosivity and commitment into a technique and some of the things we need to do in order to have a more effective and strong technique. If you guys have any questions, you guys are always welcome to pass by the Discord server. I'm gonna put the link on the chat, Discord. And if you guys would like me to review some of your videos or try to review some of the videos you send me, whether it's yours or video you find online, for me to use the stream, you can do that through the Discord server. That'll be awesome. If you would like to be to support the channel, I also have a link that you can become a member of the stream, and that'll give you a couple of extra perks. And I hope that I can keep bringing good content for you guys, and we can all keep progressing and making our Kendo strong. Please let me know how can I keep making this better for you guys. What help can I offer, and how can we do things to move forward and to have a stronger and better Kendo for 2023. Guys, I think I'm gonna leave it at that for today. I hope you guys had a good time. I will try to do another stream on Tuesday. I'm not quite sure because work and stuff like that kind of gets in the way, but I'll try. That being said, guys, thank you very much. If you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. I'll read your comments a little bit after I close the stream here. But I thank you for being here. You guys keep me motivated and keep going and keep starting Kendo to bring it to you. So you guys have a good rest of your weekend. Have good practice. And please share this channel with someone you want their Kendo to improve. Thank you very much, guys, for being here today. Jake, thank you for the feedback. I hope I can keep doing this. And now you guys have a new tool with your paper leg that we can refer back to. I'll be using that in more streams in the future. Thank you, guys. Have a good rest of your day.